The sky above the planet Navara glowed in colors Toma had never seen before. Huge streaks of orange and green painted the horizon while the twin suns dipped behind jagged mountains. Toma, Mira, and Yano moved carefully through the thick jungle, listening to the strange calls of creatures that scuttled and roared in the distance. The air smelled sweet, almost like ripe fruit mixed with sharp moss. The team had landed only 2 days ago, and already, this planet felt alive in ways that were both beautiful and dangerous. Toma paused, crouching low to examine the ground. "Footprints," he whispered. "Someone has been here recently." His sharp eyes noticed the deep impressions, smooth and metallic, not like any natural animal. Mira, always alert, peeked through the giant ferns around them. "They are tracking us," she said, her voice tense. "We need to keep moving." Yano, the tallest of the group, groaned. "Every planet has something trying to stop us," he muttered. "Why does it always have to be aliens?" His voice carried a mix of frustration and humor, but both Toma and Mira ignored it. They had learned that complaining did not help. Only focus and quick thinking could keep them alive. The group moved silently, stepping over roots and ducking under hanging vines. Birds with glowing wings flitted above, lighting their path. Mira noticed a small glimmer among the trees ahead and stopped. "Shadows," she said. "We are not alone." Suddenly, a tall figure emerged from the foliage. Its armor was shiny and silver, reflecting the fading sunlight. Behind it, more figures appeared, moving swiftly and silently. The humanoids froze. The aliens were taller than any human, with long limbs and sharp, precise movements. Their eyes, glowing faintly, scanned the jungle with perfect accuracy. Toma's heart raced, but he forced himself to stay calm. "Run," he whispered. They turned and sprinted, but the aliens were fast. Within moments, beams of light shot from the alien weapons, forcing the humanoids to dive behind trees and large stones. Mira rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding a beam that struck a thick tree trunk, splitting it with a loud crack. Despite their speed, the team was outmatched. Yao tripped over a vine, and before he could get up, an alien grabbed his arm. Myra screamed and lunged to pull him free, but another alien appeared behind her, blocking her path. Toma, realizing they had no way to fight them, held up his hands. The aliens surrounded them, moving with a rhythm that left no chance to escape. "You are captured," one of the aliens said in a mechanical voice. It was not loud, but it carried authority. Humanoids cannot leave this zone. Toma, Myra, and Yano shared a look. They had faced danger before, but nothing like this. The aliens were organized, precise, and clearly much stronger than them. Yet in Toma's mind, a spark of determination ignited. Humans always found a way to survive. He reminded himself, even in the toughest situations, cleverness and courage could create opportunities. The aliens led them through the jungle, their movements silent but commanding. The trio tried to memorize the paths, the landmarks, and the strange plants they passed. One plant had large leaves that emitted a soft blue light, and another released a scent that made the humanoid's head spin slightly. Everything seemed designed to confuse and overwhelm them. After an exhausting journey, the aliens brought them to a structure that rose high above the forest floor. Its walls shimmered with a strange energy that made Toma step back instinctively. "A barrier," he whispered. Mira nodded, her eyes wide. "It looks like it can keep anyone in," she said. Yano, though frustrated, felt a surge of determination. "We will find a way out," he said. "We always do." Inside, the holding area was cold and metallic, unlike the wild beauty outside. The walls pulsed faintly, sending a low hum through the air. The aliens guided the trio to a small cell, just large enough to stand and sit. The floor was smooth and slightly warm, but it offered no comfort. Toma examined the walls closely, noticing small sparks where the energy barrier connected to the floor. There might be a flaw, he muttered. Myra and Yano looked at him with hope. Even in this strange, frightening place, the seed of escape had been planted. As the sun set outside, painting the sky in darker shades, the humanoids sat quietly, listening to the jungle sounds through the walls. They were trapped for now, but the jungle reminded them of something important. Life always finds a way. And so would they. Their minds began working on plans, small ideas that would grow into something bigger. Freedom was far away, but it was not impossible. The planet Navarro was wild and dangerous, but it could not break the spirit of three determined humanoids who refused to give up. The cold hum of the energy barrier filled the small cell as Toma, Mira, and Yano sat quietly. Outside, the jungle of Navarro whispered and shifted under the light of the twin moons. Toma's eyes did not wander to the walls or the barred doors. Instead, he watched the faint glow of the barrier carefully. He noticed a soft rhythm in its pulse, like a heartbeat. "Do you feel that?" Toma whispered. Myra leaned closer, her eyes wide. "Yes," she said. "It's like it is breathing or moving with a pattern." Yano frowned, trying to make sense of it. "It looks like a wall of light to me," he said. "But you are saying it moves?" Toma nodded. "Not exactly moves, but it changes in strength. There are moments when it seems weaker." Myra's face brightened with curiosity. "We could use that," she said. "If we time it right, maybe we can slip through without touching it." Yano shook his head, still unsure. "It sounds too risky. What if we get burned?" Toma smiled slightly. "Humans are good at risks," he said. "But we will test it first, carefully." They spent hours observing the barrier, noticing its pulses and learning its rhythm. Mira marked the floor with small scratches to measure the timing, while Yano watched the movement of the alien patrols. Every time the tall, silver-armored aliens passed the holding area, they moved quickly and efficiently, almost like a single machine. By the third cycle, they noticed something exciting. When the barrier pulsed low, it seemed possible to pass through a thin space near the corner. It was not wide, but Mira, with her small size, could probably fit. Toma and Yano would have to think of another way to follow, but this small discovery gave them hope. That evening, as the aliens rotated their guard, Mira crawled to the corner, holding her breath. She timed her movements with the pulse and slipped through the glowing barrier carefully. On the other side, she could feel the warmth of the jungle breeze. Her heart raced, but she stayed low, observing. The alien patrols had not noticed her absence yet. Toma and Yano watched her from the cell, their spirits lifted. This small success proved that the barrier was not perfect. "It works," Toma whispered. "We just have to be patient and smart." Yano grinned, feeling a spark of excitement. "Finally, something we can do," he said. The next day, they spent more time learning the patterns of the patrols and pulses of the barrier. They discovered that the aliens moved in groups of 3, always following the same path. There was a small window between shifts when the area outside was nearly empty. Toma called it their safe moment, and the team planned to use it. While they observed, Mira noticed the jungle just beyond the barrier was alive in a different way. Large leaves glowed at night, small insects flickered with light, and thick vines created natural tunnels. "We can use the plants," she suggested. "If we move carefully, they can hide us from the aliens' eyes." Toma nodded, thinking about how to combine this with the barrier's weak pulse. "We are humans," he said. "We can find patterns, use tools, and survive anywhere. The jungle is not our enemy. It can help us." Yano began searching for anything in the cell they could use. Pieces of metal from the walls, stones from the floor, and even the energy from the barrier itself became tools in their imagination. Each small object was studied, tested, and planned for. They were turning weakness into strength, dot by the second. Night. Myra managed to slip out again, this time moving farther into the jungle. She discovered a small stream that could lead them away from the holding area if they escaped. When she returned, she described the path in detail. Toma sketched it on the floor, marking rocks, plants, and obstacles. Yano memorized the route, ready to carry any supplies they might need. For the first time, they felt a true sense of hope. They were no longer just prisoners. They were students of the planet, learning its rhythms, testing its limits, and discovering ways to survive. Toma reminded them of something important. This is only the beginning. The aliens may be strong, but they cannot think like us. Humans are clever, and cleverness can win over strength. That night, as the moons rose high and the jungle glowed, softly, the trio sat quietly, planning their next steps. Every sound of the night, the rustle of leaves, the splash of water, and the distant calls of Navarra's creatures felt like a challenge. The planet was wild, but it was also a teacher, and the humanoids were ready to learn. In the heart of their small cell, they began to feel something stronger than fear. They felt determination. They felt courage. They felt the first spark of freedom. The great escape had only just begun. The night on Navarra was calm but full of life. The glowing leaves of the jungle cast soft light over the ground, and small creatures moved silently through the undergrowth. Toma, Mira, and Yano huddled in the corner of their cell, whispering. Their plan. Tonight, they would make their first real attempt to escape. Toma studied the energy barrier closely. Its pulse was steady, and he could see the small moments when it weakened. "We have one chance," he said. "Myra goes first. She is small and fast. Yano and I will follow carefully." Myra nodded, her heart beating quickly. "I am ready," she said. The alien patrols moved in their usual rhythm, their metallic armor reflecting the soft moonlight. Toma signaled Myra, and she began crawling toward the corner of the cell. Her movements were slow and precise, timed with the pulse of the barrier. When the moment came, she slipped through smoothly, landing quietly on the jungle floor outside. Toma and Yano watched, holding their breath. The barrier hummed faintly, but Myra's small shadow disappeared into the plants. "It works," whispered Yano. "She made it." Encouraged, Toma and Yano prepared to follow. Toma had observed a small gap near the base of the barrier, but it was narrow. He took a deep breath and pushed forward carefully. The barrier brushed his arm, sending a mild shock, but he moved slowly, keeping his body close to the ground. Yano followed behind, using a piece of broken metal as a support to slip past the pulse. Finally, the three of them stood together outside the barrier. The jungle surrounded them like a living wall, full of shadows and glowing plants. For a moment, they felt free, but freedom on Navarra was not simple. The alien patrols had noticed something. A distant hum grew louder. Beams of light swept through the jungle. "They know," Yano exclaimed. Toma grabbed Myra's arm. "Stay calm," he said. "We planned for this." They ran through the dense jungle, using the glowing plants as cover. Mira led the way, jumping over roots and ducking under vines. Toma followed closely, marking their path with small scratches on tree trunks so they could find their way back if needed. Yano used his strength to move obstacles blocking their path, creating shortcuts through the thick undergrowth. The aliens moved faster than expected, their beams cutting through the darkness. One beam struck a tree near Mira, causing it to fall with a loud crash. Her heart jumped, but she kept running. "We cannot stop," Toma shouted. "Keep moving." After several minutes of running, they reached a small stream that Mira had discovered earlier. The water was shallow but fast-moving. We can use this, she said. The patrols may not follow the water closely. Toma nodded. Good thinking. Let's move carefully and stay low. They stepped into the stream, letting the water hide their tracks. The current was cold, and small rocks made their feet slip, but it was better than running through the open jungle. The alien patrols were close, but the glowing plants and shadows helped them remain hidden. Suddenly, Yano slipped on a moss-covered stone, falling into the water with a loud splash. The aliens paused, their beams sweeping in the direction of the sound. Mira quickly threw a small rock to the side, drawing attention. Away. The aliens moved toward the noise, and the humanoids kept moving down the stream. After what felt like hours, the patrols finally gave up, returning to their positions. The trio reached a small clearing surrounded by tall ferns. They stopped to catch their breath, hearts pounding but spirits rising. We did it, Myra said quietly. Toma smiled. Not completely safe yet, but the first step is done. Yano looked at the jungle around them. I never thought we could escape so far, he said. This planet is dangerous, but we are finding ways to survive. Toma nodded. Exactly. The jungle is alive, but we are learning its rules. Every obstacle can become an advantage if we are clever. They sat in the clearing, planning their next move. The patrols would increase their search in the morning, so they needed a safe place to hide. Mira suggested a hollow under a massive tree nearby, where the thick roots created a natural shelter. Toma and Yano agreed. As they rested, Toma thought about what had happened. Humans were not the strongest creatures in the galaxy, but their intelligence, courage, and teamwork allowed them to face even superior enemies. The Great Escape had begun, and this first attempt had shown them that survival was possible. The night continued, filled with strange sounds of Navarra. The glowing plants swayed in a gentle breeze, and distant creatures called to each other. The humanoids stayed low, observing the jungle carefully. Each sound, each movement, taught them something new about their surroundings. By the time the first light of dawn touched the horizon, they had found a safe place to hide. Exhausted but determined, they realized that the jungle was not just a trap. It was a teacher, a guide, and now their ally. Toma looked at Mira and Yano, feeling a sense of pride. We are humans, he said softly. We may be small, but we are clever, strong, and brave. This is only the beginning. We will survive and find freedom. The trio huddled together, ready to rest for a few hours before the next part of their journey. The Great Escape had taken its first step, and the jungle of Navarro whispered promises of new challenges, new discoveries, and new victories. The jungle of Navarro was alive with movement and sound as the first light of dawn touched the glowing leaves. Toma, Mira, and Yano emerged cautiously from their small hiding place under the roots of a giant tree. The air was thick and sweet with the scent of flowers and moss. Every step they took made small rustling noises, but the dense undergrowth helped hide them from the alien patrols. Toma looked at the horizon, observing the distant mountains. We need to understand this jungle if we want to survive, he said. Every plant, every animal can teach us something. Mira nodded, her eyes wide with curiosity. I want to see everything, she said. The plants, the water, the creatures. If we know them, they can help us. Yano rubbed his hands together, eager to test his strength. And if something blocks us, we can move it or use it to our advantage. They began walking slowly, marking their path carefully on trees and stones. Toma noticed a plant with long, thin leaves that glowed faintly at its edges. He touched one, feeling the soft texture. This plant lights up in the dark, he said. We can use it to guide us at night without using fire. Myra smiled. That will help us hide too, she said. Yano picked up a fallen branch and tested its weight. This can be a tool or a weapon if we need it, he said as they moved deeper into the jungle. They encountered a small stream with clear, cool water. Fish with shiny scales darted between rocks. Myra knelt and drank carefully, testing the water. Safe to drink, she said. Toma looked around and noticed vines hanging low over the stream. These vines are strong. We can use them to swing across or make traps if necessary. The trio continued exploring, learning how to move silently and stay hidden. Large creatures with 4 legs and glowing eyes watched them from a distance, but none approached. Toma realized that understanding the animals was as important as knowing the plants. If we can read their behavior, we can predict danger, he said. Myra nodded. And maybe they can lead us to safe paths, she added. Around midday, they reached a clearing filled with bright flowers and soft grass. The sun's light poured in, making the area almost magical. They stopped to rest and eat small fruits they found nearby. These fruits are sweet and safe, Myra said, tasting. 1. We can use them to stay strong without relying on food from the aliens. While resting, Toma noticed faint tracks in the soil. Look at these footprints, he said. They are not human, but they are fresh. Something passed here recently. Yano squinted. Maybe one of the smaller creatures, he said. Toma shook his head. No, these are larger, like the patrols. But lighter. They may be scouts. Myra frowned. Then we need to be careful. We cannot get caught again. After eating and observing, they continued their journey. Toma taught them how to use shadows and trees for cover. Myra experimented with hiding behind glowing plants, realizing the light could be controlled by moving the leaves. Yano practiced moving heavy logs to create barriers if needed. Every small action made them stronger and more confident. By late afternoon, they reached the base of a rocky hill. The rocks were rough, with small caves and cracks. We can use these caves for shelter, Toma suggested. The patrols will not expect us to climb here, Myra agreed. And from the top, we can see the jungle better, she said. Yano tested the climb, finding the best path for all of them. As they settled in a small cave, Toma looked back at the dense jungle below. This planet is challenging, but it is also beautiful, he said. We can survive here if we stay clever and patient. Myra smiled, touching the glowing leaves at the cave entrance. I feel like the jungle is helping us now, she said. It is teaching us, guiding us. The trio spent the night in the cave, safe from patrols and strange creatures. They kept watch in turns, learning how to stay alert without wasting energy. The glowing plants lit the cave softly, creating a sense of calm and safety. Toma felt proud. They were no longer just escaping. They were learning to live in the wild. By the time the twin moons rose, Toma, Myra, and Yano had discovered small streams, edible plants, strong vines, and safe resting places. They had even learned how to observe the patrols without being seen. Each discovery strengthened their hope and courage. Toma looked at his friends and smiled. We are ready for the next step, he said. We know the jungle now, and the jungle knows us. This is no longer just survival. This is preparation. The great escape will continue, and soon we will move beyond the jungle to freedom. The night settled around them, filled with the soft sounds of Navarra. The trio rested, but their minds worked on plans, strategies, and ideas. Every moment brought new lessons. Every step taught them how to use their intelligence, courage, and teamwork. The jungle of Navarro was wild and dangerous, but it was no longer a prison. It had become a partner. The humanoids were no longer just running. They were learning, adapting, and preparing. The next part of their journey promised challenges, but they were ready. The sun rose slowly over the jungle, painting the glowing leaves in shades of orange and green. Toma, Myra, and Yano left their small cave ready to test the skills they had learned. The jungle no longer seemed threatening, but it still demanded respect and caution. Every step had to be careful. Every sound considered. Toma led the way, pointing out plants and animals that could help or harm them. "Remember the glowing vines," he said. "We can use them to move silently or create traps if we need to slow the patrols." Myra nodded, practicing moving the vines to form a small bridge over a muddy patch. Yano tested a log across a stream, making sure it was stable for all of them to cross. As they moved deeper into the jungle, they noticed movement in the shadows. Small creatures with sharp eyes watched them from the trees. Mira crouched low, studying the animals. "They are not dangerous," she whispered, "but they are curious. We need to stay calm so they do not give away our position." Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the trees. A large predator, with scales that shimmered in the sunlight, stepped into their path. Its eyes glowed bright yellow. Yano froze, but Toma whispered, "Do not run. Stand still and appear calm." The predator sniffed the air, circling them slowly. Mira remembered the bright flowers they had seen earlier. She picked a few and threw them to the side. The predator followed the movement, distracted. Carefully, the humanoids slipped past it, their hearts pounding but their minds focused. "That was close," Yano said, breathing heavily. Toma nodded. "Every danger teaches us. We now know how to remain calm and use the jungle to our advantage." Mira smiled. "We are learning faster than I imagined." They continued walking until they reached a fast-flowing river. The water was deep and strong, impossible to cross by swimming. Toma studied the riverbank and saw several large vines hanging from a tall tree. "We can use these vines to swing across," he said. Mira tested the first vine, gripping it tightly and swinging over the water. She landed safely on the opposite bank. Yano followed, then Toma. Their teamwork made the crossing smooth. Once across, they noticed smoke in the distance. A patrol had set up a small camp near the river. Toma signaled for silence. "We need to move carefully," he whispered. "Do not make a sound." Using the shadows and dense plants as cover, they approached the edge of the camp. The patrol was busy, not expecting anyone from the jungle side. Myra threw a small rock in the opposite direction, drawing attention away. The patrol moved, and the humanoids slipped past undetected. "That was perfect," Myra said, her voice low but full of excitement. Yano smiled. "We are getting better at this." "The jungle is teaching us more than we thought," Toma agreed. "Every step makes us stronger. The patrols may be strong, but we are smarter and faster." As the day continued, they practiced more skills. They learned to use the glowing plants for light during night movements, to set simple traps with vines and logs, and to read animal tracks to predict danger. Each challenge made them more confident. Mira discovered a plant that could produce a sticky substance, useful for creating barriers or slowing predators. Yano found a hollow tree that could store food or water safely. Toma studied the jungle. From high branches, planting paths that were hidden from patrols. By late afternoon, they reached a hill overlooking a large valley. From this height, the jungle seemed endless, filled with colors and life. Toma pointed out patrol movements in the distance. "We can see them from here. We can plan our next moves carefully." Myra leaned on a rock, smiling. "We have learned so much. The jungle is not our enemy anymore. It is our guide." Yano, always practical, tested the slope of the hill, making sure it was safe for quick movement if they needed to escape suddenly. "If danger comes, we can run downhill fast and hide in the smaller trees," he said. Toma nodded. "Good thinking. Every small advantage counts." As the sun began to set, they prepared a safe place to rest for the night. Using vines and leaves, they made a small shelter on the hillside. The glowing plants provided light and warmth. Toma felt proud as he watched Mira and Yano settle down. They had started as prisoners, but now they were explorers and learners. Tomorrow, Toma said, looking at the valley, we will test our skills even more. We will move closer to the patrol's base and see how far we can go without being seen. Myra and Yano nodded. They were ready for whatever the jungle and their enemies would bring. As the night settled, strange calls echoed through the valley. The glowing plants swayed gently, casting soft light on their small shelter. The trio stayed alert, knowing that each night brought lessons and challenges. They had survived the first escape and learned the jungle's rules. Now, they were ready to push further, testing their courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Toma smiled, watching the glowing leaves and listening to the jungle's whispers. The great escape is not just about running, he said softly. It is about learning, adapting, and using every skill we have. The jungle is our teacher, and we are ready for the next challenge. The humanoids rested, their minds focused, and hearts brave. The jungle of Navarre was wild and mysterious, but it had become a partner in their journey. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but they were ready. The great escape was no longer just a dream. It was becoming a reality. The sun rose slowly, casting soft golden light over the jungle of Navarre. Toma, Mira, and Yano climbed carefully down the hill where they had spent the night. Their bodies were strong, their minds sharp, and their teamwork stronger than ever. Today, they had decided to move closer to the patrol's base to understand the enemy and find a safer path toward freedom. The jungle was alive with sounds. Birds calling, leaves rustling, and small creatures moving quickly. Toma signaled for silence, and the three humanoids moved as one, blending with shadows and foliage. Mira pointed out subtle changes in the tracks on the ground. The patrol has been here recently, she whispered. They are moving in a pattern. If we watch carefully, we can predict their next move. Yano studied a nearby tree. We can climb higher to see better, he suggested. Toma nodded, and they found a sturdy branch. From above, they could see a small clearing where the patrol had set up another camp. Guards moved back and forth, unaware of the humanoids hidden in the jungle. We have the advantage, Toma said softly. No, they cannot see us, but we must remain careful. One mistake could cost us our freedom. The trio decided to test their skills. They needed to move across the jungle without being seen, collect information, and avoid direct confrontation. Mira led the way through narrow paths, careful not to disturb the plants or leave any traces. Yano carried small tools to create distractions, if needed, and Toma observed constantly, planning their next steps. As they approached the edge of the patrol's camp, they noticed a mechanical device near the center of the clearing. It was unlike anything they had seen before. It must be used to detect movement, Toma said. We need to be very careful. One wrong step, and it could alert the patrol. Mira and Yano nodded. They studied the device from a safe distance, looking for patterns in its movement and, understanding its range. Mira whispered, we can use the jungle to hide our path. The shadows of trees and vines can block their sensors. If we move slowly and carefully, we can get closer. Toma agreed. We will use our knowledge. Every step is a test of what we have learned. They advanced slowly, crouching low and moving behind plants. Yano dropped small leaves and rocks to create shadows and distractions. The mechanical device rotated back and forth, but it did not detect them. Mira led them across the clearing, showing skill and confidence. We are ready for anything, she whispered. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the edge of the jungle. A large creature, attracted by their movements, ran past the camp, knocking over a small crate. The patrol immediately became alert. Toma signaled for complete stillness. The humanoids froze, hidden by vines and shadows. The patrol ran toward the disturbance, leaving the mechanical device unattended. "This is our chance," Thomas said softly. Mira and Yano nodded. Carefully, they moved toward the device. Toma examined it and found a way to disable it temporarily by blocking the sensor with a piece of sticky plant they had discovered earlier. Mira and Yano worked together, holding vines and moving quickly but silently. Within moments, the device was disabled, and the patrols remained unaware of their presence. The humanoids breathed quietly, relieved but alert. "Every challenge makes us stronger," Thomas said. "We are learning faster than the patrol expects. The jungle is our ally." Myra smiled. "We can use what we learned to go even further. Nothing will stop us if we stay clever and united." Yano nodded. "And every step we take brings us closer to freedom." They continued moving along hidden paths, marking safe routes with small signs only they could understand. They discovered hidden water sources, edible plants, and safe resting places. Each discovery increased their confidence and strengthened their bond. Tomo realized that knowledge was as powerful as strength. "The more we know," he said, "the safer we become. The patrols may have weapons, but we have intelligence and courage." As the sun began to set, the trio found a high cliff overlooking the jungle and the patrol's base. The view was breathtaking. The glowing jungle stretched for miles, and the patrol camp looked small and vulnerable below. Toma turned to Myra and Yano. "We have tested our skills today," he said. "We have faced danger, used our knowledge, and survived. Tomorrow, we will plan the next stage of the Great Escape. Soon, freedom will not be just a dream." The humanoids rested on the cliff, watching the twin moons rise over Navarra. The jungle whispered around them, offering protection and guidance. They had faced a hidden threat, used their skills, and survived. The Great Escape was now closer than ever. They slept lightly, prepared for the challenges of the next day. The jungle had tested them, and they had proven their strength. Their courage, intelligence, and teamwork would carry them further. Toma, Mira, and Yano were ready for the final steps of their journey. The night was calm, but the future promised. Trials. The patrols were still out there, but the humanoids were ready. Every step, every lesson, and every discovery had prepared them for what was to come. The Great Escape was no longer just survival. It was strategy, courage, and hope brought to life. The first light of dawn broke through the dense canopy of Navarra. Toma, Mira, and Yano stood at the edge of a narrow cliff, looking down at the patrol camp below. Today was the day they would attempt the final escape. Their hearts were steady, their minds focused, and their bodies ready. The skills they had learned, the dangers they had faced, and the lessons from the jungle had all prepared them for this moment. Toma whispered, "We move carefully, follow the plan, and trust the jungle. We have come too far to stop now." Mira nodded, checking their small tools and the glowing plants they carried for light and distraction. Yano examined the path they would take through the jungle, ensuring it was safe and hidden. Each of them felt a mix of excitement and determination. They descended the cliff silently, using vines to lower themselves without making noise. The jungle seemed alive around them, guiding their steps with shadows and soft rustling sounds. Every footstep was calculated. Every movement was precise. They reached the edge of the patrol camp. From here, they could see the guards moving, the mechanical devices scanning, and the small paths that led away from the base. Toma pointed to a narrow trail on the far side of the camp. "We use that path," he said. "It leads to the river, then to the hills beyond. The patrols will not expect us to move this way." Mira and Yano followed, keeping low and blending with the shadows. Mira used glowing plants to create faint light only they could see, while Yano left small markers to remember the safest route. Suddenly, a loud shout echoed across the camp. A guard had noticed something unusual near the river. Toma froze for a moment, then whispered, "Stay calm. Use the jungle." They ducked behind large ferns and trees as the patrol moved toward the sound. Mara threw a small rock to distract the guards further. The patrol shifted their attention, allowing the humanoids to slip away unnoticed. The river was fast and wide. The trio had studied this crossing before. Using strong vines and fallen branches, they created a temporary bridge. Mira went first, testing each step carefully. Yano followed, steadying the vines to prevent swinging. Toma crossed last, ensuring everything was safe. When they reached the other side, the sense of accomplishment was strong. They had survived another test and were closer to freedom. The hills beyond the river were steep and covered in dense jungle. The humanoids climbed carefully, moving silently through the trees. Birds and small creatures observed them, unafraid. Toma smiled, realizing that the jungle had become an ally. Every shadow, every sound, and every path was a lesson they could use. As they neared the top of the final hill, they saw a small clearing bathed in sunlight. This was their destination. Beyond it lay open land where patrols could not follow easily and where freedom awaited. Myra turned to Toma and Yano. "We made it this far. The jungle has protected us, and our skills have guided us. Now we take the final step." They moved together through the clearing, alert but confident. Suddenly, a patrol appeared on a nearby ridge. The humanoids froze for a moment. Toma quickly whispered, "Use the shadows. Move fast and low." They dashed behind rocks and trees, using every skill they had learned. Yano created a small diversion by tossing a rock into a distant bush. The patrol investigated, giving the trio the chance to continue. Finally, they reached the edge of the clearing. Before them stretched open land and a distant forest. The patrols were far behind, unable to follow easily through the thick jungle. Toma looked at Mira and Yano. "We did it. We are free." They ran across the open land together, feeling the wind on their faces and the sun on their backs. Each step was filled with relief, joy, and triumph. As they reached the distant forest, they stopped to catch their breath. The jungle behind them was still, silent, and protective. Toma smiled, thinking of the lessons learned, the dangers faced, and the strength they had discovered within themselves. Mira laughed softly. "We have escaped, but we also learned more about courage, teamwork, and survival than we ever imagined." Yano nodded, and the jungle taught us everything we needed. It was not just a challenge, it was a guide. The three humanoids walked into the forest, leaving the patrols far behind. The trees whispered softly, the leaves glowed faintly in the evening light, and the air was filled with life. For the first time in what felt like forever, they were not running, hiding, or afraid. They were free, strong, and united. Toma, Mira, and Yano stopped by a small stream, letting the water cool their hands and faces. They sat together, reflecting on their journey. Every danger, every challenge, every night in the jungle had prepared them for this moment. They had escaped captivity, survived the wild, and discovered their own courage and intelligence. The sun set over Navarra, painting the sky in colors of orange and pink. The jungle glowed softly, celebrating the victory of the humanoids. Toma looked at his friends and said, "The great escape is not just about leaving a place. It is about learning, growing, and using every skill we have. Today we are free, and tomorrow we will continue to live wisely, carefully, and bravely." Mira smiled, holding her glowing plant. "We will remember every lesson the jungle taught us. We will never forget this journey." Yano nodded, looking at the stars beginning to appear. "And we will always stick together. That is our greatest strength." As night fell, the three humanoids rested by the stream, feeling safe and at peace. The The patrols could no longer reach them, and the jungle had become their protector and guide. Their journey had been long, dangerous, and full of challenges, but they had succeeded. The great escape was complete. They were free, strong, and ready for the future. Navarra's jungle had tested them, but it had also welcomed them. Toma, Myra, and Yano had faced every danger, learned every lesson, and discovered the true meaning of courage, teamwork, and hope. The wild was no longer a prison. It was home.